Alright, I was gonna wait to talk about this until tomorrow, but there's absolutely no way I can do that after watching these fights. How could I? This fight was so exciting. So, we're just gonna jump right in and talk about the fight tonight between Valentina Shevchenko and Alexa Grasso. Now, first and foremost, you have to understand that the betting lines had Valentina Shevchenko at a plus 1,000 favorite. This means that Valentina Shevchenko, if you were to gamble, you would have to bet $1,000 for you to make $100. So you'd have to bet $1,000 to walk away with 100. Now that's wild, man. That's absolutely wild, those odds. Then, not only that, but then you walk into the first round and it's essentially just nothing but stand up the whole entire round. And that whole round, all you saw was a back and forth where Grasso was getting the best of Valentina. Grasso easily had my count for winning round one, and I'm not the only one. If you watch the fight and you pay attention to all the tweets that come up from all the people that they show during the fight, the majority of everyone, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think I saw anybody say that Valentina won round one. If I'm not mistaken, like I don't remember seeing that. I might be wrong, but I don't remember seeing anyone say that Valentina won round one. And that's not a big deal. The way Valentina fights, she's typically out there. Round one's a feel out process. At the beginning is how she starts out, starts getting her reads, making some moves, seeing how things go, and then she kicks it up and says, I have your number, and wins. And that's how she fights. So that was how round one went. Then we went into round two. And in round two is a different story. Valentina comes in and says, all right, you do very well on the feet and you seem to have my number there, and I don't know why. And as Dean Thomas said, Grasso was doing a lot of fighting from southpaw, and it doesn't seem like Valentina was ready for that. It seemed to have caught her off guard. So Grasso seemed to have her number there. Her team did well, saying, hey, we need to do this from a southpaw stance for us to get ahead on Valentina. That's our plan. Excellent game plan. Paid off dividends for sure in round one. But round two, Valentina comes in, says, all right, here we go. Takedown. See how you do down here. That was a Valentina round. There was some stand-up, it was some groundwork, but in the end of the day, round two was an easy Valentina because Grasso didn't really have any answer. And then in round three, we saw the same thing. Takedown, and this is where we're going to be. And the thing is, there was not really any good defense for these takedown attempts from Grasso. They were basically unchallenged. And the only times at this point that Shevchenko really had any failed takedown attempt was when she was out there not really committed. It was like an obvious, there's your leg, I'm going to hug it. There was nothing like a shot to make you react, and then here we go to camouflage your moves, set it up a little bit. None of that. Just, here we go. And it seemed like that was used to slow Grasso down because of how aggressive she was on the feet. By Valentina, just a little bit of time, catch her breath, get her feet back under her, and reacquire control. So we had that go on, yet at one point on the ground, Herzog separated the fighters and stood them up. Now, there was a loud boo from the crowd that you could hear at home over your stereo very easily. It was a very audible boo from the crowd when he did this. So I rewound the fight live just so I could figure out how long this went, and I counted on the timer 6 seconds. So there was a period, he'd given a warning already, and the commentators were discussing it. How it seems like there's a larger push this year to stand the fighters up if they're not active enough on the ground. And I counted out these 6 seconds, counting out ticks on the timer, not on my own. So it's 6 legitimate seconds between one strike, and then I believe that one was a head strike on the ground, and then there was some fighting for control of arms and position, and then Valentina throws a shot to the body 6 seconds later, and I think she throws 2 of those before Herzog tells him to stand up, and as he's saying to stand up, there's another shot to the head. Why on earth are we standing up the fighters because of 6 seconds without a strike, but a struggle for control? It's not like nothing's going on there. There's a fight for control on the ground. There's a fight to maintain that control. It wasn't like it was just uncontested and they were sitting there doing nothing. There was a fight to control hands to not get struck and to get a position to make your own strikes. Apparently that's not enough anymore. Then, after standing up, they have an immediate takedown by Valentina, once again back down to the ground. It was ugly, however. No control was maintained. There was a little bit of space there where Grasso's on her back, and Valentina is basically at her feet, looking up toward her from her feet to her face. And there's just a little bit of space between the two of them. And Grasso throws a couple kicks at Valentina's face on the ground there. And the commentators pointed out, this is an illegal head kick to a grounded opponent. And they're right. That is an illegal kick to a grounded opponent. Nothing was said, nothing happened, nothing was done there. And I think this is going to be a point of contention for fight fans for a long time. One, people like seeing a champion dethroned, especially someone who's that established and dominant. It's exciting to have. At the same time, however, it's also something where you've got a reason to have an argument that it shouldn't have continued and Valentina should be the victor because of an illegal strike. Rightfully so. That's not a wrong argument. At the same time, Alexa Grasso is now the first female Mexican champion. And Mexico and Mexican Americans extremely happy with this to happen. So you're going to have them saying, yeah, nobody called it, so it doesn't matter. And I see this being something people personally are going to just dig their heels in and argue about for a while. And with how dominant Valentina was, and with how contentious that point in the fight is going to be, we're definitely going to see a rematch immediately between these two. It's the first time we've really seen Valentina challenged at 125 at all. Aside from her last fight, which was difficult, some people thought she lost. But this was a different level of back and forth competition that Valentina was really having to fight to defend her belt for. And then we went into round 4. In round 4, this was wild. So we had the same things going on. Now, Grasso, in round 4, I believe she'd stuffed one takedown attempt prior to this, and then she had a legitimate, finally a good response to a takedown attempt, where instead of a hesitated, drawn-out reaction, she had a pretty immediate reaction in sprawl and legitimately just stuffed the takedown effort. That's a big confidence booster for Alexa Grasso. So you go from that to some groundwork, and what ends up happening in the end after another takedown attempt where they're struggling on the ground for a second, smooth as butter, Grasso just swings around right onto Valentina's back. Who the fuck saw this coming? And not only that, but she sinks in a rear naked choke that's on the chin, but just doesn't let go. Doesn't give up on it. Just keeps working her arm to get under the chin. Eventually gets under the chin. Has not just her arm under the chin, sunk in as deep as it could, but also has the left arm hooked around the wrist the way it should, and all the way back behind the head as far as possible. And Valentina's doing her best, but at the end of the day, and no!